Good evening. I'm Davide Brun, and this is your news on Circuit News TV. Tonight, we turn to India, where a horrific crime has sent shockwaves across the nation, igniting widespread protests and calls for justice. In the eastern city of Kolkata, the body of a 31-year-old trainee doctor was discovered on August 9 at RGKar Medical College. The young woman, who had been working in a government hospital, was found with multiple injuries. Initial reports from the hospital suggested a suicide, but a subsequent autopsy revealed the grim truth: she had been raped and murdered. This heinous crime has sparked a wave of protests, beginning in Kolkata and rapidly spreading across the country. Activists, doctors, and feminist groups have rallied in cities from Delhi to Goa, demanding better protections for women and medical professionals. In Kolkata, demonstrators took to the streets under the banner "Reclaim the Night," while medical staff staged sit-ins, bringing services at some centers to a halt. The anger is palpable. Doctors have called for stronger security measures in hospitals, and the Federation of Resident Doctors Association (FORDA) initially launched a nationwide strike. While some concessions have been made, with Health Minister Jagit Prakash Nadda agreeing to work on a Central Protection Act within 15 days, many doctors are continuing their protests. They demand not just promises, but concrete action to ensure their safety and justice for their colleague. The Kolkata High Court has now transferred the case to India's Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI), reflecting the seriousness of the situation. The CBI has already begun its investigation, with the highest court in West Bengal mandating regular updates on their progress. As the investigation unfolds, the suspect, Sanjoy Roy, a civic volunteer with access to the hospital, has been arrested. However, the victim's family suspects there may be more perpetrators involved, possibly pointing to a gang rape. This claim has further fueled public outrage. This case is a stark reminder of the ongoing issue of sexual violence in India. Despite stricter laws introduced after the infamous 2012 Delhi gang rape, reports of sexual violence remain alarmingly high, with an average of 90 rapes reported each day in 2022. Activists argue that laws alone are not enough. The enforcement of these laws and a broader societal shift are crucial. The tragic death of this young doctor, occurring in a city once considered safer for women, has rattled the nation. The Prime Minister's party, BJP, has called for the dismissal of West Bengal's government, while opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has demanded justice, criticizing the local administration's handling of the case. As protests continue and the investigation progresses, this case has become a flashpoint in India's ongoing struggle with both sexual violence and the safety of its medical professionals.
The brutal rape and murder of a 31-year-old trainee doctor at RGKar Medical College has ignited not just anger, but a profound demand for systemic change across India. This horrific incident has brought to light the vulnerabilities that women and medical professionals continue to face in the world's most populous country. Since the victim's body was discovered on August 9th, protests have erupted from Kolkata to Delhi and beyond. Doctors, activists, and feminist groups have taken to the streets, demanding justice and the resignation of hospital authorities whom they accuse of gross negligence. The protests have not only highlighted the issue of sexual violence, but have also drawn attention to the dangers faced by medical professionals in India. According to a 2015 survey by the Indian Medical Association, over 75% of doctors in the country have faced some form of violence in the workplace. This has created an environment of fear and frustration among those dedicated to saving lives, and the Kolkata case has become a rallying point for change. Demands for a Central Protection Act. One of the central demands from the medical community is the swift enactment of the Central Protection Act, a proposed law that would make violence against doctors a non-bailable offense. The Federation of Resident Doctors Association (FORDA), which initially called for a nationwide strike, has received assurances from Health Minister Jagit Prakash Nadda that the government will take up the act within 15 days. However, many doctors remain skeptical, insisting that they will continue to protest. The proposed act, which was first introduced in Parliament's lower house in 2022, has gained renewed urgency. Doctors argue that, without such legal protection, they remain vulnerable to attacks, whether from aggrieved families of patients or other assailants who take advantage of the often chaotic and understaffed hospital environments. The investigation and political fallout. The Kolkata High Court's decision to transfer the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) has been seen as a critical step in ensuring an impartial and thorough investigation. The CBI, known for handling high-profile cases, has already begun its work, with a mandate to provide periodic updates on its progress. This move was welcomed by the victim's family, who expressed distrust in the local police's ability to handle such a sensitive case. However, the case has also taken on a political dimension. The ruling Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP) has used the incident to criticize the West Bengal government.
Led by Mamata Banerjee's All India Trinamool Congress 8cc, they accuse the state government of failing to protect women and medical professionals, calling for its dismissal. Meanwhile, opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has also weighed in, criticizing the local administration's response and demanding justice for the victim. This political wrangling has added another layer of complexity to an already deeply emotional and charged situation. Many protesters fear that the political parties may prioritize scoring points over ensuring justice and implementing real change. A broader crisis of sexual violence. The Kolkata case is a grim reminder of the broader crisis of sexual violence in India. Despite the tightening of laws following the 2012 Delhi gang rape, the number of reported rapes remains staggeringly high. Last year alone, an average of 90 rapes were reported each day. Activists like Vrinda Grover, who has represented victims in some of India's most notorious sexual violence cases, argue that the problem goes beyond the laws on the books. Grover emphasizes that without diligent enforcement and a fundamental shift in societal attitudes towards women, sexual violence will continue unabated. Grover's warning is echoed by many who see the Kolkata tragedy as part of a larger pattern of systemic failure. In many cases, the perpetrators of such crimes are not held accountable, further emboldening those who commit these heinous acts. Calls for broader social changes. The investigation unfolds and protests continue. There is a growing consensus that addressing the issue of sexual violence in India requires more than just legal reforms. Activists are calling for a national reckoning with the deep-seated issues of patriarchy, discrimination, and inequality that permeate Indian society. The tragedy in Kolkata has exposed the vulnerabilities not only of women but also of those on the front lines of healthcare. The nationwide protests serve as a stark reminder that real change will require not only better laws but also a shift in cultural norms and attitudes. What's next? With the CBI now in charge of the investigation, all eyes are on how the case will be handled in the coming weeks. The pressure is on for a swift and just resolution, not only for the victim and her family, but also for the thousands of doctors and activists who have taken to the streets, demanding a safer, more just India.
The Kolkata High Court has now transferred the case to India's Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI), reflecting the seriousness of the situation. The CBI has already begun its investigation, with the highest court in West Bengal mandating regular updates on their progress. As the investigation unfolds, the suspect, Sanjoy Roy, a civic volunteer with access to the hospital, has been arrested. However, the victim's family suspects there may be more perpetrators involved, possibly pointing to a gang rape. This claim has further fueled public outrage. This case is a stark reminder of the ongoing issue of sexual violence in India. Despite stricter laws introduced after the infamous 2012 Delhi gang rape, reports of sexual violence remain alarmingly high, with an average of 90 rapes reported each day in 2022. Activists argue that laws alone are not enough. The enforcement of these laws and a broader societal shift are crucial. As protests continue and the investigation progresses, this case has become a flashpoint in India's ongoing struggle with both sexual violence and the safety of its medical professionals. We'll continue to monitor this story closely as it develops. Stay tuned to Circuit News TV for the latest updates on this case and other stories affecting people around the world. That concludes this segment of our extended coverage. Thank you for staying with us, and as always, stay informed and vigilant.